Again, Big U, his son Baby Huey, or Big Huey, right? He was he was assassinated last night on Halloween out there in LA.
The streets of LA erupted with shock after Big U's son, Jabari Henley, was brutally assassinated on Halloween night. But what followed next took things to another level. Nispey's affiliates wasted no time mocking Big U's loss, setting the stage for an explosive showdown. Apparently, the drama runs deeper than it seems. Stick around, we're diving into the full story. Let's break it down. A Halloween nightmare in the trenches, on the night when the streets should have been filled with nothing but kids trick-or-treating and neighborhood block parties winding down. The city of Los Angeles, specifically South Central, got hit with news that would send shockwaves through every hood from Crenshaw to Compton and ripple all the way through the entire hip-hop community. We're talking about a tragedy that went way beyond just another casualty in the streets. This was about to expose all the dirt, all the unresolved beef, and all the pain that's been festering in the culture since 2019. The death of Jabari Baby Wee Henley wasn't just some random shooting. It was about to become ground zero for one of the most toxic digital pylons the game has ever seen, where old wounds would get ripped wide open and the streets of social media would show no mercy. Right around 11:11 p.m., PDT on Halloween night, October 31st, 2025, LAPD from the 77th Street Division got the call about shots fired at the corner of South Figueroa Street and West 69th Street. And what went down there would become one of the most talked about shootings of the whole year. Now, if you know anything about South LA, you know that Vermont's Slauson area. It's been a hot spot forever, where the blocks stay active and the tension between sets has been cooking since way back. The spot where it happened was this little smoke shop called Fig and 69 Smoke Spot, sitting right there in the mix of liquor stores, body shops, and empty lots where the rolling 60s neighborhood Crips have been holding it down for decades. The word is the shop itself wasn't gang-affiliated, it's just in the territory, you feel me? The whole scene went down like something straight out of a movie, except this was real life and real bullets. Witnesses, we talking about two people who were just leaving the shop and a food truck vendor who was out there grinding, all said they saw this dark-colored sedan, probably a Toyota Camry or Honda Accord from what they could tell, pull up to the curb. Jabari Henley, standing 6'1" and about 210 pounds, walked up to the whip from the sidewalk and started chopping it up with whoever was inside through the passenger window. What happened next went down in literally seconds. The type of quick work that tells you this wasn't no random stick-up or nothing like that. Before anybody could even process what was happening, the whole block erupted with the sound of gunfire. That unmistakable pop, pop, pop that makes everybody hit the deck.
And I want to talk about, Big U. His son was assassinated last night out there in LA. Absolutely nasty work, man. Again, Big U, his son Baby Huey, or Big Huey, right? He was assassinated last night on Halloween out there in LA.
Now, the details of the incident are pretty scary. The shooters let off at least 7 rounds from what investigators figured was a semi-automatic. Shell casings they collected pointed to either 9mm or .40 caliber heat. Jabari took 4 hits, 2 to the torso. 1 caught him in the upper chest, another in the stomach, plus 1 in his left arm and 1 in his thigh. He dropped right there on the pavement by the shop entrance, clutching his side while the sedan peeled out northbound on Figueroa, hooked a right on 68th Street, and disappeared into the LA night like smoke. The paramedics and fire department rolled up quick, but sometimes quick ain't quick enough. LAFD Station 46 pulled up at 11:14 p.m. and found Jabari barely clinging to life, doing that agonal breathing where your body's just trying to hold on, and he'd already lost so much blood. They went straight into emergency mode, doing chest compressions and hitting him with epinephrine through the IV, trying everything in the playbook to bring him back. But at 11:28 p.m., just 14 minutes after they arrived, they couldn't find a pulse. Jabari Baby Wee Henley was gone just like that. The coroner's office did the autopsy on November 1st, and the official word came back as case W25004512. Cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds, with the real killers being hemorrhagic shock and his left pulmonary artery getting torn up. The toxicology came back clean, no liquor, no drugs, nothing in his system that would have had him moving sloppy. The official ruling homicide straight up. Now, who really was Jabari Baby Wee Henley? That's the question we gotta ask. Because to understand why his death sparked what it sparked, you gotta understand the man behind the name. Born March 15th, 1991 in Englewood. That's LA County for those who don't know. Jabari wasn't out here trying to be famous like his pops, Eugene Big U Henley. He kept a low profile, stayed in his lane, but still had love for the culture. He dropped a few tracks under the name Baby Wee, including a 2019 joint called Hood, with Hoodrich Pablo Juan and Kenny Beats on the boards that pulled in about 150,000 streams on Spotify. The music was real, all about surviving in the trenches and staying loyal to your family. Themes that hit different, now knowing how his story ended. But the rap game was really just a side thing for Jabari. Homies who knew him personally said he was working as a warehouse supervisor at some logistics spot in Compton, taking care of his 10-year-old daughter and making it clear he wasn't trying to be in the streets like that. They said he stayed out the way. That's hood talk for keeping your head down and not getting caught up in the drama that his family name might have pulled him into. This detail matters because Jabari represented what a lot of young brothers in South LA are striving for.
As far as this is how the streets go, but Baby Huey, I ain't gonna hold you. Solid dude. Like, as young as he was, if you actually met him, he actually seemed way older. Kel was solid, like straight, solid dude. Now some of y'all be, well, he was in the street. He didn't operate like that. He wasn't operating out here like no goofy. Let me just flat out put that out there.
Staying connected to where you're from while carving out a different path that don't involve gang politics or street beef. People who knew him from around the way spoke highly of his character and how he carried himself. Jabari left behind 3 siblings who were all doing their thing. His brother, Diane Henley, who's 28 and starting linebacker for the LA Chargers, posted on the gram November 1st saying the whole family was making moves in different lanes, trying to do better. But here's where this whole situation gets even more heartbreaking, where Jabari's father was when he got the news. Eugene Big U Henley, 58 years old, found out his son had been murdered while he was locked down at the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown LA, where he's been sitting without bail since March 2025. When the feds hit him with 43 counts under RICO, the indictment was heavy. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California came with allegations that Big U was running a whole mafia-like operation connected to the Rollin' 60s Crips, talking about extortion, human trafficking, bank fraud, and even ordering a hit on some rapper in Vegas. The way Big U got the news about his son shows you how cold the prison system can be. Around 1:30 a.m. on November 1st, his co-defendant Luce Cannon, who's also a music executive caught up in the same RICO case, got word through a contraband cell phone from somebody on the outside, and he had to tell Big U during lights out and whispered conversation. Cannon later gave interviews to TMZ and Hot New Hip Hop, where he described how Big U took the news. Cannon said, Big U just froze. He didn't say much at first, tears streaming, fists clenched. Then he whispered, not my boy, not like this, describing the raw grief of a father who couldn't even be there for his son in his final moments. We're both shattered, man. Heartbroken and devastated doesn't cover it. We'll work through this together, even from in here. God makes no mistakes. It's testing us. But we'll rise, Cannon added, trying to find some meaning in senseless tragedy. As of November 2nd, 2025, the case remains open with no arrests made. LAPD's South Bureau Homicide Division has been working the case hard, pulling 12 different surveillance videos from businesses in the area. They put up a $50,000 reward through the LAPD's citywide crime reward program on November 1st, hoping somebody would come forward with information that could crack the case. But what happened in the hours and days after Jabari's death on social media? That's where this story takes a dark turn that shows you just how toxic the internet can be when grief, conspiracy theories, and unresolved beef all collide in the worst possible way. The internet went crazy with it. Less than 2 hours after the first police scanner reports started hitting the internet at 11:45 p.m. on October 31st, something wild started jumping off across every platform you can think of. The story about Jabari Henley getting gunned down didn't just spread through the hood or even just LA. It went viral globally. And with it came a flood of comments, conspiracy theories, and straight-up disrespect that revealed the absolute worst of internet culture and how the hip-hop community still hasn't healed from losing Nipsey Hussle. What popped off wasn't condolences or calls for justice. Nah, what we saw was something way more sinister. A whole wave of people talking about karma, divine retribution, and basically celebrating a young father's death because of rumors about his pops. Within 90 minutes of those first scanner alerts dropping, the story exploded online and immediately got tied to those 6-year-old conspiracy theories about Big U, supposedly having something to do with Nipsey Hussle getting killed on March 31st, 2019. On X, that's what we're calling Twitter now, the mentions of Big U's son jumped from 2,500 posts at midnight to 15,000 by 6 a.m. on November 1st, with hashtags like CosBigHenley and Baby Y trending all across LA. The speed this whole thing blew up was crazy, showing how social media has turned tragedy into instant content, speculation into accepted facts, and people's grief into entertainment for the masses. TikTok was flooded with videos, including some graphic footage of the paramedics doing CPR on Jabari that got posted by anonymous accounts and racked up 3.2 million views by noon on November 1st. Instagram reels from Nipsey. Hustle fan pages started reposting clips, mixing mourning for Nipsey with slick accusations against Big U, and the whole thing reached 25 million impressions worldwide. The algorithm was eating it up, serving people a narrative that had been simmering in the culture for years, just waiting for something to set it off again. The disrespect, usually framed as karma coming back around, or Nipsey's spirit getting revenge from the grave, was rooted in these old accusations that have been following Big U since 2019. These theories that Big U allegedly vouched for Eric Holder Jr., the Rollin' 60s member who got convicted in 2022 for killing Nipsey, or that Big U profited off Nipsey's death through his unique music label, were already proven to be capped during Holder's trial, where Big U's name never even came up in the transcripts. But you know how it goes in the streets and online? Facts don't travel as fast as rumors. And these theories got new life through old clips getting recirculated with fresh energy. A 2021 interview with Charleston White resurfaced on November 1st, and his post pulled in 11,000 likes and handy 500 reposts. In that clip, Charleston made some wild allegations about what really went down with Nipsey's death and Big U's supposed involvement in the whole situation.
Homie, they killed Nip too. Let's not forget, homie, they killed Nipsey Hussle. Eric Holder was not a lone actor in that. If you go back and follow the details, Nip and Big U got into it. Big U hit Nip Daddy across the head with a bat. His brother had to come out and shoot the gun. Hey, y'all get out. Say, Nip, come on, we finna come beat you. Because I don't want to pay that $20,000.
Loose Cannon's podcast rant from 2025, recorded before he caught his case, got reposted and grabbed 6,000 likes, where he claimed Big U signed Nip to a shady deal, then let the snakes circle. The irony of Cannon, same dude who later had to tell Big U about his son getting murdered, saying all this wasn't lost on people paying attention, and it was Brick Baby who called out how ridiculous Cannon's whole narrative was when he sat down for an interview later.
All this is nonsense. Me and Big U even had a conversation about it. And I said, man, I'm sorry you're getting dragged into this fake storyline. Not that I have anything to do with it, because I've never interviewed Loose Cannon or anything else like that. But I just as someone I'm cool with, I said, I'm sorry that this is the story that's going out and people are running with it, because I remember every conversation I've ever had with Big U, he's always spoken positively about Nipsey. Every time. Our interview, nothing negative about Nipsey. Personal conversations, nothing negative about Nipsey ever.
Whack 100's Instagram Live from March 2025, where he detailed some supposed physical altercation between Big U and Nipsey back in 2017 that supposedly led to Black Sam getting arrested, generated a viral thread with 50,000 engagements. These weren't new stories. This was old dirt getting dug up. Old accusations getting a second life because the algorithm's whole purpose is to feed off conflict and controversy. The specific examples of how people were moving on social media in those first hours after the shooting paint a nasty picture of how grief and speculation can turn toxic real quick. At 12:07 a.m. on November 1st, somebody posted video of the crime scene with the caption, "Retaliation for Big U's alleged Nipsey setup? Street war never ends." And that got 19 likes and 5 reposts. By 1:46 a.m., another person posted something more thoughtful about the CPR video, saying, comments full of Nipsey's spirit and sins of the father, "We've lost compassion. Death is entertainment." which got 95 likes. By 6:47 a.m., the energy turned even more disrespectful, with one post saying, LA let Big U walk after killing your legend Nipsey. Trash City, which got 400 likes. At 12:57 p.m., somebody dropped a YouTube link titled Proof Big U Killed Nipsey and Son's Best Friend that racked up 417 views in just the first few hours. When you break down the numbers, the scale of this digital mob becomes crystal clear. Out of 8,000 analyzed posts from November 1st to 2, 62% invoked Nipsey using hashtags like #DosDosNipseyKarma, which popped up 4,000 times, while only 28% were neutral condolences, and just 10% condemned the mockery. The platforms eventually stepped in to control the most foul content. X suspended 15 accounts for doxing on November 1st, TikTok demonetized 200 videos for showing graphic content, and Instagram flagged 50 reels under their hate speech policies. But what this whole digital circus really reveals is how we as a culture have lost the plot when it comes to grief, justice, and the whole concept of karma. The narrative people were pushing had zero evidence connecting Jabari's death to anything that happened in 2019. It was purely emotional, driven by a community's unhealed trauma over losing Nipsey Hussle. Some folks, still hurting from Nipsey getting taken away, had decided Big U was the villain, and Jabari's tragic murder became, in their minds, some kind of cosmic payback from the universe.
And the person who killed Nipsey Hussle has been convicted of the murder. Big U's name never came up in the trial.
Not a call log, not a
nothing. Not a nothing. You would think that in a case this serious where you're facing life in prison, if it really was a murder for hire, like people are trying to say it is, which is nonsense, that person would probably come forward to try to get their time reduced.
300, 375, 400 kids that was in our program. And I had the travel basketball team. We had a contract with Adidas that was worth about $3 million that Kanye West gave us.
Wow.
And then I had like a bunch of other different contracts. And for a nonprofit, we were really thriving. Then Nipsey gets killed. Well, after Nipsey get killed, then the rumor goes out, Big U had something to do. Ooh. We lost everything.
You lost all those?
When I tell you everything.
Wow.
Kanye stopped answering the phone. Adidas stopped answering the phone. And I ended up almost going dead broke because we already committed to these teams.